In this video, I'm going to walk you through who you should pick as your recommender if you're either an entrepreneur or if you work for the family business. And who am I? Hi there, I'm Maria. I'm a 2005 graduate of Harvard Business School. I'm a former board member of the elite admissions consulting organization known as AGAC, and I'm the founder of Applicant Lab. And what is Applicant Lab, you may be asking? It's a self-guided online MBA admissions tool. It gets rid of that sort of going in circles feeling that you might have by providing you with a step-by-step instructions on everything you need to do to submit a strong application. It replaces the need for expensive admissions consulting or can save you thousands of dollars should you choose to work with one anyway. And it's the only admissions service that is endorsed by the Harvard Business School student newspaper. So if you look at this picture here that I've got of a screenshot of the lab, you'll notice that right here in the corner, I have an entire module that is devoted to getting the strongest recommendation possible. So please do check out Applicant Lab. And by the way, there is a free trial that you can check out right after you're done watching this video. So before we get started in talking about who your recommender should be, I thought it would be really beneficial for us to first take a step back and ask ourselves, what's the point of a recommendation? What is the goal? Why do the admissions committees even ask for recommendations anyway? Well, to put it bluntly, they're looking for third-party verification that you're as awesome as you say you are in your application. For example, if you mention certain accomplishments in your resume, or if you write about certain leadership experiences in your essays, did those things actually happen, and do you have the personality traits that you are saying that you have? That's what the recommender basically verifies, that you are the person that you are portraying yourself to be. For this reason, the recommendation has to come from a credible source for it to be believable. And a credible source means primarily that this person does not owe you anything, and similarly is not beholden to you in any way. After all, if the person writing the recommendation is trying to curry favor with you in some way, then the entire integrity of the recommendation is going to be called into question, and it's not going to be taken as seriously by the admissions committee, which is not at all what you want to have happen. So when your recommender starts to fill out the recommendation, there are four main sections that recommendations have. First, they're going to have to check off all of your strengths in a grid. This is normally, well, it can be either a grid, it can be either displayed as a grid, or sometimes it's through a series of drop-down menus. But so basically, this is a series of questions that will say things like, please rank the candidates' communication skills, please rank the candidates' teamwork skills, please rank the candidates' innovation, and so on and so forth. So the recommender has to basically rank you in for various strengths that are either presented in a grid or through a series of drop-down boxes. There will usually be a very short little mini section where they have to explain how they know you, how long they have known you, and in what context they have known you, which is what helps the admissions committee understand if this person is a credible recommender or not. And then they have to answer two basically mini essay questions. And the first mini essay question is asking, what are you as the applicant good at? And the second one is asking the opposite, what are you not so good at? So let's explore what those two core questions actually are. Here's what the phrasing is for the first question. How does the performance of the applicant compare to that of other well-qualified individuals in similar roles? E.g., for example, what are the applicant's principal strengths? Up to 500 words. Now, this word limit will vary from school to school. Some schools will have no word limit, some schools will have 500 words, and some schools will have 250 or 300 words. So just be sure that you're paying attention to what your specific school is asking for before you talk to your recommender about writing this little essay. The second essay question, what are you not so good at? And this one is far more interesting. Look at how it's phrased. Describe the most important piece of constructive feedback you have given the applicant. Please detail the circumstances and the applicant's response. So basically, this is asking for a time, not simply saying, well, what are some of the weaknesses that the applicant has, but is specifically asking for a time that this person has pulled you aside and has said, hey, that thing that you did was not great, and you need to do it better next time. So why am I telling you this? Because the person that you end up choosing as your recommender has to be able to answer both of those questions. you need to realize that, someone that might know you only a little bit well is a terrible choice for a recommender. If this person hardly knows you, they're actually not a good choice for a recommender because, well, they hardly know you. So they won't be able to answer the first question very convincingly, and they certainly will not be able to answer the second question, probably at all. So you don't have to have worked for this person directly, but they should have seen you working in action, watching you lead teams, seeing you in your triumphs, and also watching you make mistakes. Can they answer the two key questions we just talked about? Has this person ever given you critical feedback? If someone that you're considering, as a potential recommender has never given you critical feedback, you need to cross that person off your list of consideration because they're not going to be able to answer that second question very well. So, now that we've got all this background information, I do think that it's vital for you to understand that. So that way my advice is bound to make more sense. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneur, I do not think that your co-founder should be your recommender. And why is that? Because I, as an admissions officer, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say to myself, okay, is this person truly objective? Are they really being, unbiased in what they say? Do they have a hidden motive? There's a very good chance that your co-founder does not want you to leave, right? If your co-founder, is like, yes, this person, this person who's asking for the recommendation desperately needs an MBA. They really need to go to business school because they are terrible at business. Yikes! What is that saying about you? Or do they want you to stay? Sometimes a co-founder is terrified at the thought of you leaving to go to business school, and maybe they'll intentionally write a terrible recommendation about you just to try to get you to stay. So it gets really messy real quick, and for that reason, I don't think it should be your co-founder. I also don't think it should be a vendor, because if it's someone who's selling something into your company, then I'm going to ask myself as an admissions reader, okay, are they just saying nice things in order to keep this business, right? Remember that a credible recommender is someone who owes you nothing, who is not beholden to you in any way, who is not trying to curry favor with you for some sort of self-serving reason. So, who's a better bet? Someone from your pre-entrepreneurship life, if you have a boss, if you used to work at say a lot of people first work at big companies and then they jump out of that life and they become entrepreneurs. So perhaps a previous boss could be a really good person to mention. An investor or the venture capitalist or board member, I think, is probably one of your strongest bets because investors, first of all, they certainly, in my experience, do not hesitate at all to give you feedback. If you have any investors, you've been in those shoes before, surely. So they can definitely answer that second essay question. And also, investors and venture capitalists have seen lots and lots and lots and lots of entrepreneurs do their thing. So they are going to really be able to compare you, hopefully favorably, against other entrepreneurs in their portfolio. Just make sure that this investor is not an angel investor who is a family member, because obviously if they're a family member, then the entire the entire thing falls apart, because obviously a family member cannot be a truly passive or dispassionate reviewer. Or how about a customer or a client? This is someone that you are trying to curry favor with. So since they're not trying to curry favor with you because they're your client, oftentimes these folks can be great sources for recommendations. They can compare you to maybe other startups that they've worked with. I'm sure a lot of clients have given you some negative feedback in the past if they're vocal clients. So they can also answer that second question pretty strongly. If you're in a family business, it cannot be someone inside your family. It cannot be a family member, even if that person is your direct boss. Because obviously at this point, it should be very clear based on the explanation that I've given leading up until now, is this person truly objective? Of course they're not. And even if they can be objective, if you say, you don't understand, Mom, you don't understand, Maria, you don't know my mom, she's very, very critical of me, that doesn't really matter, because the assumption is going to be that this person is in fact not objective. And if you want proof of that, well, imagine that I was trying to convince you to buy Applicant Lab, and instead of saying, read my dozens and dozens and dozens of positive reviews on GMAT Club, what if instead I said, well, my mom says that it's the best way to apply to business school? Right? Are you gonna take my mom's word for it? You're not. And so the admissions committee is also not going to take your mom's word for it, or your dad's word for it, or your uncle's word for it, or your cousin's word for it, or anyone in your family. They're not going to believe them, even if that person truly can give you a fair recommendation. So a better bet is a boss from some other job, if you have in fact worked someplace else in the past. Just like with the entrepreneurs, a customer or a client can be a really great recommender for the reasons I listed previously. If your family firm has ever hired some sort of external consulting firm for a limited time project, and if that consultant worked closely with you, that can be a great source of a potential recommender. And then some senior person at the company that you've reported to who is not a family member, but this is the last choice. You have to make sure, if you're going to go with someone within your own company, you have to make sure that the criticism that they give of you, right, that second essay question that they have to write about the critical feedback, you have to make sure that it's real, that they are going to write about a real, honest-to-goodness critique that they gave of you. Because if their answer to that question is seen as being a softball answer, like, oh, once I criticized that her shoelace was untied and I told her to tie it, like, if it's not a real criticism, then immediately the admissions committee is going to say, you know what, this person is not credible, because clearly they don't want to piss off the boss by doing anything to jeopardize the offspring's chances of getting into business school. So clearly this person is not being fully forthright and honest with us. So for that reason, if it is going to be someone else at your company who is not a family member, just make sure that their critique of you is a valid one. So that way I, as a reader, believe that it is truly an unbiased recommendation. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to support@applicantlab.com. Thanks.